The deal comes after negotiations between the company Costa Cruises and several Italian consumer groups. The company also promised to refund medical and transport expenses as well as the cost of the cruise. One consumer group, Costa Concordia, has urged passengers not to accept the offer, Reuters news agency reports. Costa Concordia and two U.S. law firms are filing a class action lawsuit in the U.S. suit against Costa Cruises, demanding at least $160,000. That means £105,000 for each passenger on the ship. Costa Cruises is owned by US-based Carnival Group. Michelle Prana, a lawyer with one of the firms filing a lawsuit, told the BBC reporters last week that it was being brought on behalf of 110 claimants. A crew member from the Costa Concordia has also brought a lawsuit against Costa Cruises in the US state of Illinois, Reuters reports. In court documents, Gary Labaton says he was not aware of the dangerous conditions the ship was in until it was too late to abandon the ship. The deal will not cover those passengers who lost loved ones or who were injured. This deal concerns some 3,000 passengers from 60 countries, including some 900 Italians. Ad hoc, one of the consumer groups that negotiated the agreement, said in a statement, AFP reports. We think around 85% of them will agree to this deal, it added. On Tuesday, another body was found inside the wreck of the Costa Concordia, bringing the death toll to 16. At least 16 others are missing. Car bomb attack near funeral in Baghdad kills 32 people. A suicide car bomber has killed at least 32 people and injured about 60 in a predominantly Shia Muslim district in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. The bomb went off in a marketplace as a funeral procession was passing in the city's Zafarnia district. A security official told Reuters bomber had initially attempted to attack the police station. Attacks in Iraq have risen since U.S. troops left last month, with 17 people killed in attacks on Thursday. The suicide attacker struck as mourners escorted by police cars were carrying the body of a Shia man shot dead in a day before, police said. It was a huge explosion. Salam Hussein, a 42-year-old grocery store owner, was quoted saying by Associated Press news agency. One of Mr. Hussein's employees was hurt, and as he took him to the hospital, he saw cars engulfed in flames. Where the bomber's car had exploded, he saw human flesh scattered around and several mutilated bodies in a pool of blood. A policeman at the scene, uninjured but covered with dust from the blast, told AFP the suicide bomber targeted the funeral procession. They were following a tradition that you carry the bodies of the dead from the hospital for a short while before transporting them in a car. At that moment of the suicide bomber attack, Ayman Ramia, an employee of the Baghdad municipality, said, I saw a yellow taxi going in the direction of the funeral procession and then it exploded. The funeral corpses went flying into the air. I carried dead body of a young girl and the corpse of a man whose head had been blown off to the hospital. Helicopters hovered as security forces cordoned off the site of explosion, while distraught witnesses screamed in anguish, AFP reports. Outside the hospital, groups of men called names searching for missing relatives. Inside, people crowded around medics to ask about their loved ones. France resumed Afghan troop training despite attack. French troops will resume training Afghan soldiers on Saturday, but Paris will pull out most of its troops from the country by the end of 2013, President Nicolas Sarkozy said. The withdrawal would come a year earlier than the deadline set by NATO. Mr. Sarkozy had earlier warned of the possibility of a speedy pullout following the killing of 4 French troops by an Afghan soldier. He made the announcement after talks with Afghan President Hamid Karzai. Mr. Sarkozy said after a Paris meeting that had been given assurances that extra protection measures would be put in place. France currently has about 3,600 soldiers in Afghanistan. Paris wants to bring home 1,000 of its soldiers this year, leaving only a few hundreds after 2013. The decision has surely been taken with public opinion in mind, the BBC's Christian Fraser in Paris reports. In a survey published on Thursday, 84% of the French people said they supported the full withdrawal of troops by the end of this year. France has been spending about 500 million euros in a year in Afghanistan, and the government's commitment in the country is getting harder to defend, our correspondent says. Mr. Sarkozy, main opponent in this year's presidential election, has pledged to bring troops home this year if elected. We'll move on the business world. Greece debt talks close to deal. Greece could reach a deal with its creditors over the weekend, according to a senior European official. We are very close to European Union's Economic Commissioner Olli Rehn said at the World Economic Forum in Davos. He hoped a deal would be done by the European Union summit that takes place on Monday. Greece and its private creditors have so far failed to agree to reduce existing debt to help Greece avoid bankruptcy. They are about to close a deal, if not today, maybe over the weekend, preferably in January rather than February, Mr. Rehn said. His comments were echoed by the German finance minister Wolfgang Schäuble, who told the Davos meeting he was optimistic a deal could be reached in the coming days. Mr. Rehn said the deal would be part of a crucial 3 days for the Eurozone. The European Council of all 27 leaders in the European Union is due to meet on 30th January. We need reinforced fiscal discipline on the one hand and firewalls on the other. In addition to Greek debt deal, Mr. Rehn said. Welcome to the world of science. Asteroid makes near-miss flyby. An asteroid hurtles past Earth on Friday in something of a cosmic near-miss, making the closest approach at about 16 hours GMT. The asteroid, estimated to be about 11,036 feet in diameter, was first detected on Wednesday. At its closest, a space rock named 2012 BX-34 passed with about 6,000 kilometers of Earth, less than a fifth of its distance to the Moon. Astronomers stressed that there had been no cause for concern. It's one of the closest approaches recorded, said Gareth Williams, Associate Director of the US-based Minor Planet Center. It makes it into the top 20 closest approaches, but it's sufficiently far away that there is absolutely no chance of it hitting us, he told. The asteroid's path made it the closest space rock to pass by Earth since Object 2011 MD in June 2011. Earlier estimates had put the asteroid's closest distance at the little as 20,000 kilometers, near the distance at which geostationary satellites reside. But studies by observatories overnight into the Friday showed it would pass at more comfortable distance. And in sports, taking on soccer violence one derogatory chant at a time. It was a normal Saturday game at Librox Stadium, home after Rangers soccer teams. A pre-match fight broke out on the subway. The crowd lobbed trash onto the field. Fans and Rangers and their mutually despondent opponents, Aberdeen, abused one another with traditional chants, songs and obscene gestures. At times it seemed that the only thing preventing a violent free-for-all was the heavy presence of police officers and security guards. And lest the message, "Control yourself or face the consequences," was lost on anyone, there was a direct request from Rangers authorities. If you witness any form of unacceptable or offensive behavior, including sectarian singing, a notice inserted into the ticket envelope said, "Please advise a steward or police officer." No one yet has been able to diffuse the visceral hatred that runs through Scottish soccer. But in its latest effort to tackle game-related violence, the Scottish government recently passed a law making it legal for fans to attack one another using religious, ethnic, regional, or violent historical slurs in songs, chants, internet postings, or even stray remarks at a stadium or pub. Before we close this day's bulletin of news analysis, let's have a recap of the main point. From this week onwards, we tried to introduce a latest feature into a news analysis. The latest of the last week. In today's issue, Libya prisoners make new torture allegations. Allegations of torture have been rife since the death of Colonel Gaddafi in October. New evidence has emerged that supporters of the former Libyan leader, Colonel Gaddafi, have been tortured while in detention. The BBC has been told by inmates at a jail in Misrata that they were beaten, whipped, and given electric shocks. The head of the city's military council has dismissed the allegations. Manipur polls 30% votes cast in 3 hours. About 30% of the 17.40 lakh voters exercised their franchise in first 3 hours in Manipur Assembly elections on Saturday, officials said. Long queues of enthusiastic voters were seen at many polling booths across the valley districts of Imphal, East Imphal, West Tobol, and Bishanpur, with people waiting their turn on a sunny morning. Let us know your opinions about news analysis. Please call or mail us. Before we close this day's bulletin of news analysis, let's have a recap of the main point. Syrian army attacks restive Homs and Hama. Growth in the US economy quickens in fourth quarter. London 2012, Isles of Wonder theme for Olympic ceremony. Costa Concordia company offers passengers compensation. Car bomb attack near funeral in Baghdad kills 32 people. France to resume Afghan troop training despite attack. And there we end today's bulletin of news analysis. Be with us in the coming weeks too. Thank you.